At St. Catherine's Academy, wealth was everywhere. Designer bags, luxury cars, private drivers. But the smartest student in the school came by bus. And that was exactly why one rich girl hated her. What she didn't know was that every plan to humiliate the scholarship girl would only make her look foolish. This is the story of Eleora. There are schools where children go to learn. And there are schools where children go to prove who they are. St. Catherine's Academy was both. It stood on a quiet hill outside the city, surrounded by tall iron gates, manicured lawns, and buildings so polished they reflected the sky. It was a school where ministers' children studied, where CEOs' daughters arrived in black SUVs, where drivers opened car doors every morning and security guards greeted parents by name. In that school, wealth was as visible as the uniform. But one morning, something unusual happened. A girl stepped down from the public bus at the gate. Her name was Eleora. Her uniform was neat but not new. Her shoes were polished carefully, but you could tell they had been polished many times before. Her school bag was simple. No designer logo, no expensive phone. She held her books tightly and walked through the school gate with quiet confidence. Some students noticed, some whispered. Did she come by bus? But Eleora kept walking, because she had not come to St. Catherine's to impress anyone. She had come because of a scholarship, the kind that only came once in many years, the kind given to the student with the highest national exam score in the entire district. Eleora had earned it. Every school has a center of gravity. At St. Catherine's, it was 3 girls, Vanessa, Clara, and Tiffany. They were known as the queens of the hallway. Vanessa was the leader. Her father owned several hotels across the country. Clara's family owned an oil company. Tiffany's mother was a famous television personality. They were beautiful, stylish, confident, and used to being admired. When they walked through the corridors, people moved aside. But the moment they saw Eleora in their classroom, something changed. Because within the first week, Eleora did something no one expected. She answered questions the teachers themselves struggled to explain. In mathematics, in science, in literature. She spoke calmly, clearly, without arrogance. But brilliance has a strange effect on insecure people. It shines a light they cannot dim. Vanessa noticed, and she didn't like it. The first plan seemed harmless. During lunch break, Vanessa and her friends sat near Eleora. Vanessa smiled sweetly. "So, Eleora," she said loudly, making sure others could hear, "how long does it take to get here on the bus?" The cafeteria became quiet. Eleora looked up from her food. "About 40 minutes, she said calmly. Vanessa laughed. "Wow, that's interesting." Clara added, "I can't imagine riding a bus to school." Tiffany shook her head dramatically. "I'd rather stay home." Some students giggled. Vanessa leaned forward. "Tell us, does it smell?" The table laughed louder, but Eleora did not look embarrassed. She simply said, "No." Then she looked at Vanessa and added gently, "But ignorance sometimes does." The table went silent. Vanessa's smile froze, and somewhere in the cafeteria, someone began to clap. Vanessa's humiliation did not make her wiser. It made her angrier. So the next week, she planned something bigger. During science class, the teacher announced a group research project. Vanessa immediately volunteered to choose the teams. Of course, she placed Eleora in the weakest group. Students who rarely studied, students who barely cared. Vanessa smiled to herself. Now, the brilliant girl would fail. But Vanessa had forgotten something. Intelligence does not shrink in difficult company. it grows. Eliora spent evenings patiently teaching her group members, explaining concepts slowly, helping them understand. When presentation day arrived, Eliora's group shocked the entire class. Their project was the best. Even the teacher was impressed. Vanessa's group came second, and for the first time in years, Vanessa did not receive the highest grade. By now, Vanessa's pride was wounded. She told her friends, "I will embarrass her once and for all." So she created a plan during the school debate competition. The topic was announced, "Does wealth guarantee success?" Vanessa signed up immediately. Then she quietly spread a rumor that Eliora was afraid to participate. It worked. Students began whispering, "Maybe the scholarship girl is not that brave." But on the day of the debate, something unexpected happened. When the teacher called for speakers, Eliora stood up. The hall became silent. Vanessa smirked. Perfect. She would destroy her. Vanessa spoke first. She talked about connections, influence, opportunity, money. Her speech was polished, confident. The audience applauded. Then Eliora walked to the podium. She looked calm. She did not rush. And then she said something that changed the entire room. "Wealth can open doors," she began. "But intelligence decides what you do once you enter the room." The hall became quiet. Eliora continued, "My parents cannot drive me to school, but they gave me something far more valuable, the belief that my mind is worth developing." She paused. "And that is a wealth no one can take away." The room erupted in applause. Even teachers stood up. Vanessa felt something she had never felt before. Not anger, something deeper, embarrassment. The debate hall remained noisy long after the judges announced the winner. Students surrounded Eliora, congratulating her. Some asked how she prepared her arguments. Others simply stared, still surprised that the quiet girl who arrived by bus had just defeated one of the most confident speakers in the school. Vanessa watched from a distance. Clara and Tiffany were still talking loudly about the competition, trying to convince themselves the judges had been unfair. But Vanessa wasn't listening anymore. Something about Eliora's speech had stayed with her. Not the applause, not the victory, but the calm way she had spoken. There had been no mockery, no revenge, just quiet confidence. Vanessa had expected Eliora to embarrass her, to remind everyone about the cafeteria incident, to expose every cruel thing she had done. But Eliora had not done that. Instead, she had spoken about dignity, about effort, about the value of the mind. And somehow, that had hurt Vanessa more than humiliation would have. Because deep inside, Vanessa knew something uncomfortable. She had tried to destroy someone who had never tried to destroy her. That thought followed Vanessa through the rest of the school day. It followed her through the hallway, through the parking lot, even through the car ride home. For the first time in years, she did not feel powerful. She felt thoughtful. After the competition, Vanessa found Eliora near the school gate. For once she had no audience, no friends, just the two of them. Eliora stood quietly near the bus stop, adjusting the strap of her bag as she waited. The afternoon sun was beginning to soften, and the noise of the school slowly faded behind them. Vanessa walked closer. Her steps were slower than usual. For a moment, she did not speak. She simply watched Eliora, the girl who had endured weeks of teasing, the girl who had answered every insult with patience. Finally, Vanessa spoke quietly. "Why didn't you humiliate me back?" Eliora looked at her calmly. There was no anger in her eyes, no triumph, just quiet understanding. Because winning does not require destroying someone. Vanessa stared at the ground. For the first time in her life, she felt small. Not because someone insulted her, but because someone showed her what dignity looked like. The words stayed in the air between them. Eleora then added softly, "Everyone is fighting a battle people cannot see. I didn't want to become the kind of person I was trying to defend myself from." Vanessa did not answer immediately. She simply nodded, and for the first time, she felt something she had rarely felt before. Respect. That day, Vanessa went home, thinking about something she had never considered before. Money could buy many things, but it could not buy character. Weeks later, something changed at St. Catherine's. At first, the change was small. Vanessa stopped laughing when Eleora spoke in class. She stopped making sarcastic comments in the cafeteria. She even began listening during group discussions instead of trying to dominate them. Clara and Tiffany noticed. They whispered among themselves, confused. One afternoon, Clara asked directly, "Why are you suddenly being nice to her?" Vanessa shrugged. "She's not the person we thought she was." But the biggest change came during a mathematics class. The teacher asked a difficult question that most students struggled to answer. Vanessa looked at the problem for a long time. Then she turned toward Eleora and asked quietly, "Can you explain this part to me?" The classroom became silent. Clara and Tiffany stared as if they had seen something impossible. Vanessa, the girl who once mocked Eleora, was asking for help. Eleora did not hesitate. She simply moved her notebook closer and began explaining the solution step by step. Clara and Tiffany were shocked, but Vanessa simply said something that surprised everyone. "That girl came to this school with nothing." She paused, then added thoughtfully, "But somehow, she still has more than the rest of us." The moral of the story: a person who measures worth by wealth will always meet someone richer. But a person who measures worth by character will never be poor, because intelligence may open doors. But humility decides who stays inside.